Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of the Zach Drew Show. I'm your host, Zach Drew. We're doing a special type of show today. We're going to be interviewing my good friend, Josh Peck. We've started this series, right? You've been watching, and I've been really loving all of the comments and people are emailing me and texting me that they love what we're talking about these last few weeks. This is going to be part 3. It's technically part 3, but it's the 4th episode in this series, all about the rise of the digital dragon. So in part 1, we exposed the Stargate AI and the possible brain of the beast system. In part 2, which was actually 2 episodes, we uncovered the Internet of Bodies, IOB, and the wiring of human flesh into this machine. But today we're going to take it beyond the material world, and we're going to get into a lot more of the conspiracy realm. And because let me tell you, what if, I put in my notes, what if I told you that they aren't just building machines to control your body, but they are literally opening portals to invite powers back into our world? I'm talking about CERN, D-Wave, quantum computers. They're not just about faster technology. They're about tearing holes in the spiritual fabric of reality itself. And I'm telling you right now, I couldn't think, as I was building out this series, I couldn't think of anyone better to join me in breaking this down than my good friend, Josh Peck. Josh Peck is the founder of Daily Renegade. He is the host of the Sharpening Report. He's the author of multiple books on quantum physics, AI, end times prophecy. And he is now just crossed his 1-year anniversary with Prophecy Watchers. And so he's going to be talking today about how science is setting the stage for this supernatural deceptions that are coming tomorrow. Josh, my friend, welcome to the show.
Hey, Zach, good to see you again, and thanks for having me on. It's great to talk with you.
It's good to see your smiling face, man. Listen, Josh, I'm excited to hear what you have to say. Let's start right here. My first question for you is this. So in all of your research, let's lay the foundation. What exactly is a quantum portal? And are scientists, this is conspiracy to me. This is every day to you. You know this stuff out the wazoo. Are scientists really trying to open up access points to other dimensions? And how real is this stuff?
Yeah, well, they have been trying to do this for years. So really, it's kind of 2 questions before I answer what it actually is. It's are they trying to do it, and can they do it? Have they achieved it? And I'll get into both of those. But to answer the first question, what is a quantum portal? Well, the word quantum just means the smallest of the small. So the smallest building blocks of our reality, of our physical reality. So we're talking about particles even smaller than atoms, things that make up atoms, things like quarks and stuff like that, electrons, those photons and stuff. Those are the quantum particles, the smallest particles in existence that we know of, that make up reality. So somebody who's into quantum studies, they study those particles. Quantum mechanics, they study the mechanics of those particles, just meaning how they move, how they behave, what they're able to do, what they can and can't do. There have been for years, probably decades actually. There have been a lot of theories. And then obviously everybody knows what a portal is. A portal is just like a jump point between one place and another that's incredibly a lot shorter than it would be if you traveled that distance the traditional way, like by in a plane or a car or something. If a portal exists, you could get there instantaneously. So the idea that there's a lot of different ideas that physicists have on how something like that could be achieved. They have done things like quantum teleportation, which is a little different, but they have done things where they've just basically teleported, in a sense, one particle very far away at an instant. That's a little different than a portal exactly, because they're not exactly portaling it there. Teleportation is something different. By the way, if they ever invent teleportation, don't ever use it, because what it actually does is the way that teleportation is supposed to work. It breaks down your entire body, and it sends the information, through the internet or whatever, to another place, and then rebuilds it there. That would probably kill you.
You would turn into a pile of goo.
Yeah, exactly. And even if the body was fully able to fully be recreated on the other side, well, the body was already destroyed, so the soul's not in the body anymore. So either it would just be a dead body laying there, or who knows, maybe that could be possessed by a demon or something. I don't know. But teleportation is something a little different than portals. So the idea with portals is, well, there's a bunch of different ideas on how to do it, but one of the leading theories, and this is one they've been working on for a while at places like CERN, and I'm not saying that they've achieved this, but the idea is you create a miniature black hole, which is a really bad idea just on its own, because we know what black holes do. But apparently in the mathematics, it says if you can get the spin of the black hole going fast enough, it'll counteract the gravitational force of the black hole, meaning it would be called what's called stabilized, meaning it's not a danger at that point anymore. It's not sucking everything into it and growing bigger and bigger and bigger. It's stabilized, and then maybe, because there's a lot of energy in a black hole, maybe if you go through that, you could end up somewhere else. It's really theoretical. There's there hasn't, as far as we know, there hasn't been a whole lot of experimental stuff being done with it. I mean, there are, but not like achievements. As far as we know, they haven't been able to accomplish this yet. And people say, well, what, there must be a whole bunch of things going on at CERN that we don't know about. Yeah, probably. But if a physicist or if a team of scientists were to actually achieve that, they wouldn't be able to keep it secret for long, because if somebody achieved that, that's an instant Nobel Prize. They would win a Nobel Prize for that. And what human being is going to be able to turn that down? And I don't think of these guys as like very like humble and not prone to pride and everything. What scientists wouldn't want the glory of saying, I discovered this, or my team of scientists discovered this? But what does happen, and this happened when they discovered the Higgs boson, the so-called God particle in 2012, sometimes they'll make a discovery, but they'll test it a lot to make for sure that it's actually really what they think it is before they release it to the public. Because there have been times where they've released findings early and they've been embarrassed because it turned out it wasn't true. They made a mistake somewhere. Like years ago, they thought that they were able to make electrons or protons or some kind of particle go faster than light, which is impossible. But they released it too early. Turned out it was malfunctioning equipment that was reading it wrong. So it could be that they have found a way to do this, and they just haven't told us yet because they're still just really making sure that it's working that way.
Whether they've achieved it or not, because I know that we're going to get into it in a little bit, but because something very mysterious took place in 2022 at CERN, we're going to talk about it, but all that we know is that something huge took place in 2022 at CERN, but they've been absolutely hush-hush about it. But whether they've been successful in doing it or not, literally the brainiacs of the world that would put at least guys like me to absolute shame, the smartest men on planet Earth, this is at least what they've stated on record that they're attempting to do. You know, like that old quote from, I don't even know if he's the current director, but he was the director. His name was Sergio Bartolucci, right? Yep. It was something that we've all talked about, how he said the Large Hadron Collider at CERN could open a door to an extra dimension. It's out of his mouth.
Yep.
And out of this door might come something, or we might send something through it. So whether they've achieved it or not, like they're attempting to. And Josh, when we hear scientists say that they might receive something from another dimension, first off, it just sounds so sci-fi. If this was your crazy Uncle Ed writing on his blog in his basement, I wouldn't take it seriously. Whenever the leading brains, the leading physicists of the world are saying this, whenever you hear them, I think sooner or later, I think sooner or later it's going to happen. I mean, when we think of Revelation 9, my question for you is what are the biblical implications of opening something like this? And because I mean, I don't know about you, but I think about Revelation 9,
Yeah.
about the opening up of a bottomless pit.
Yeah, me too. And the kind of scary thing about this is, it's not sci-fi, that they have been talking about this for decades at this point. I actually have a clip. If you want it, I'll send it to you. From a documentary. I think PBS put it out. It was like a Nova special or something. And one of a physicist that a lot of people know about, Brian Greene. A lot of people like him because he can break things down and explain things in simple terms for people like us to understand. But he this was an old documentary. This is the first that I heard about it. And in there, he described how how physicists could make a type of communication device between dimensions. So when in terms of like quantum portals, so if we're talking about extra dimensions and we're not just talking about our physical reality, surprisingly, that's a little easier to do. And it wouldn't seem like it is, but the reason is because of everything we know about a particle called a graviton, which is just the particle of gravity. Everything we know about gravitons, the math suggests that gravitons can, on their own, they have the natural ability to traverse into higher dimensions. So we live in a reality of three physical spatial dimensions of space. Up, down, left, right, forward, back. We have three dimensions of space and then one of time. Well, gravitons can naturally go into higher dimensions. Now, people might even be thinking, well, how do we, has it been proven that higher dimensions actually exist? In a sense, yeah, it has. And the reason is because space-time can bend. So ever since the days of Einstein, we've kind of known, and the way that I look at higher dimensions, I look at that as that's like spiritual stuff that God created. Heaven might be one of these dimensions, and there's probably a bunch of stuff between Earth and heaven. We know that there's three heavens, and so there's different ideas on how all this could work. But the fact that space-time can bend, it means there has to be at least one higher dimension of space for it to bend into. Like if I have this piece of paper here, if this was in a two-dimensional world, you can't bend it. There's no up or down, so you can't bend it at all. It would just be completely flat. For this to be able to bend, we have to have a third dimension for it to bend into. Well, we know space-time itself can bend. It must have an extra dimension to bend into. So the idea that, yeah, it's crazy. So, and this is the thing, because a lot of this is looked at sci-fi, but it's basically proven fact. Not experimentally proven yet, but that's what they're working on, and that's what Sergio Bertolucci was talking about. So the idea is, as of yet, we haven't been able to harness gravitons. We haven't detected one at the LHC yet, but at least not that we know of. Like I mentioned, the Higgs boson, that actually happened 6 months before the world knew about it. And I believe if and when gravitons are detected, they're not going to keep that secret. I think they will let that out, because again, that's another one of those that'll be bigger than Higgs boson. That'll be instant Nobel Prize for whoever does that. And a bunch of money and funding and they're just anything they could possibly want after that. But the idea is to take once we can harness and manipulate gravitons to alter this. We know how to alter the spin of particles. So you can alter the spin and line these gravitons up in a row. So you can have one spin up, one spin up, one spin down, one spin up, one spin down, one spin down, and create a binary message, basically. You can create a message of these string of gravitons, and then you just let the gravitons do what they naturally do and have them just escape into a higher dimension, set up a detector, and see if you get a response. And that's exactly what Brian Greene was talking about in that Nova clip. And this was well over 10 years ago. So they are actively working on that. I do think at some point, whether it's CERN or it's something else, because there's other particle colliders that are going to be built. China's working on one that's supposed to be 20 times bigger and more powerful than CERN. But eventually I believe that it's a candidate for how the bottomless pit gets opened. So the way that I've written about this, and oh, by the way, I should mention, if anybody's interested in this topic, I have a new 2-volume book set called the Final Cataclysm, which people can pick up at prophecywatchers.com. And I do talk about a lot of this stuff in here. Also, Cherubim Chariots and Quantum Creation. Those are another 2 books that I talk a lot about this. prophecywatchers.com is the best place to get it. But anyway, so the idea is they send this message out, something else answers. And humanity, these scientists, they're already hoping that something extra dimensional will respond back, because they're thinking they're extra dimensional, they're higher than us, they can guide us, they can help us. This is the same as praying and venerating ancient false gods from our past. It's the same thing. You know, it's a more technological way to do it, but they're sending a message. That's basically prayer. They're inviting these things, and you know as well as I do, you know how demons and fallen angels work. Like, it's almost like vampires. Once you invite them in, they have every right to come in. And a lot of times we do that through sin, and then demons can come in and mess with our lives and stuff like that. But this is a more technological approach to the same exact thing. It's almost like a repeat of the Tower of Babel. So the way that I see a possibility on how this could play out and connect with Revelation 9 is, so scientists send out a message, they get something back, they're all, yay, there's extra dimensional beings out there, let's keep talking to them, let's listen to what they say. And it gets to the point where God says, okay, you want to follow these false gods? You can have them. Let's see how they treat you. And then the angel is sent to open the bottomless pit, and you get all of these horrible things coming out that torture people without the seal of God on their forehead. So I'm not saying that's exactly how Revelation 9 is going to be fulfilled, but I believe that that's a pretty strong contender, because like what in our world right now is the biggest international operation right now is what's happening at CERN. Like it's international, it's worldwide. All these countries are working together to accomplish this stuff. And their main goals has always been to probe extra dimensions, map out extra dimensions, and see if there's any intelligences there. See if we can communicate with them. Now, whether that's
Josh,
through yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Are you familiar with Geordie Rose?
No.
Geordie, he's an expert. He gives lectures on this all the time, and he's respected in this community. And I do want to play a quick little video of him, because what he said when talking about D wave and quantum computers, he was talking about how this is like building an altar to an alien god.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, are they tapping into fallen realms without even realizing it? I don't think so. I think they know exactly what they're doing. Let's play this quick clip of Geordie Rose.
Have a thing called a pulse tube, which emits a sound roughly once per second, which sounds eerily like a heartbeat. So if you have the opportunity to stand next to one of these machines, it is an awe-inspiring thing, at least for me. It feels like an altar to an alien god. They really are impressive machines.
Josh, whenever I hear that, it doesn't sound like science to me. Mm-hmm. It sounds like modern day sorcery.
Yeah.
So can I have, you were talking about it a bit before the video. Can I have you on record? What do you think that these machines will eventually be able to be used as communication devices for these fallen entities? And even posing and as advanced AI or even alien intelligence.
Yeah. I mean, definitely, the potential is there. Whether human beings, actually grasp it and figure out how, I actually think there might even be a higher potential for that in AI, especially married with quantum computers. And I actually just did a whole presentation on this at Prophecy Watchers conference in Orlando, which, by the way, just another shameless plug. All of those presentations are available at prophecywatchers.com if people want to check those out. But in my presentation, I talked about our one saving grace with quantum computing, the one thing that used to kind of rein it in to where it's like, okay, this probably isn't going to be that big of a deal anytime soon, is how incredibly how incredibly fragile quantum states are. So the quantum computer basically uses quantum processes, so it uses the smallest of the small. But because they're so small, any little bit of interference messes the whole system up. Even if you look at it, you can't even observe it directly, because that for us to see anything, we need photons, we need light. If we add light to it, it messes it all up. So for a while, it's been like, well, okay, yes, they have a couple working computers, quantum computers, but they have to be so incredibly cold. They have to keep them really cold to keep them stable. I don't see that being commercially like viable. I don't see like a bunch of like, but that has changed. That has changed recently, and a bunch of companies have found a bunch of different ways to get around this stability problem, and many of them have solved it. So we're entering into a world now where commercial quantum computers are going to be available. Yes, they'll be very expensive to begin with, but like everything else, they'll come down in price. But not only that, with how powerful AI is now, imagine that with a quantum computer, which a quantum computer can do calculations in seconds that would take a normal computer billions of years to do. So the question is, like, when you're talking with an AI, how do you know that that's just code? Like, how do you know that perhaps a demon or a fallen angel couldn't be manipulating those answers a little bit? Because already AI they're doing things that the developers themselves don't expect. They're lying to preserve their own programming, and they're evolving their own programming even. Well, imagine that. We might be on a path with just classical computers that are already doing that, but it might take a long time. Marry that with a quantum computer, and they can evolve to top tier, in seconds, in minutes, and be
How
everywhere.
close are we to that?
If we're not there already, we're a year maybe. I don't know how long it's going to take, because the chips already exist, like Google's Willow chip, and there's a few others. The chips already exist, so but I don't know if they've already tried to integrate AI into this. But if they haven't, we're days, weeks, months, maybe a year or two away from them doing that. It's not going to be long. The way that it'll happen at first is big, because these things will be very expensive. Big corporations and governments will get a hold of quantum computing before anything else. There's this thing that experts are calling Q Day. This is the day. So all of our encryption online is based on these really difficult math problems having to do with prime numbers. And they encrypt everything with that because computers can't solve these math equations very fast. It would take millions or billions of years for a computer to solve this. A quantum computer can solve this in seconds, though. So say a foreign adversary or even just some corporation gets a hold of this. Well, they're calling this Q Day, the day where our encryptions don't work anymore, and where quantum computing can hack into everything, government secrets. Privacy won't be a thing anymore. They could get into your bank account. As bad as that sounds, that's small scale. But the problem is they're trying to develop what's called quantum resistant encryptions, but they're developing them slower than how fast Q Day is going to be here, because that could be any day. So it's kind of like this. The problem is everybody's using the internet all the time. So let's say you have New York City, and some company, some government, or some individual developed a key that could open every single key to every door in New York City. So the leaders of New York are like, okay, well, we got to change all the locks. Imagine how difficult it would be to change every lock while people are still going in and out of buildings. It's impossible. I think that's a good analogy for what this Q Day thing is. So even if they develop quantum resistant technologies, it's almost like it's too little too late, and everybody's using the internet all the time. So I think Q Day is going to hit before that does. And what comes out of that, it only depends on who gets access to the technology first and what they want to use it with. But that was a little bit of a sidetrack. But the marrying it with AI kind of thing, we can't definitively prove right now, there's no way to do it, that AI is not being influenced by demonic forces. It very well could be. Who's to say a demon can't affect what an AI says? Now,
I want you to keep going with this thought, but every single time someone says something like that, I'm always reminded of a conference I was at. You were there too. It was several years ago in Branson, Missouri, and a couple of people that do, document, like Justin Fall and another fellow, I can't remember who it was, but they went to Burning Man, and they even talked about how they went to breakout sessions, and they were able to see that there was breakout sessions of the benefits of people in the technology world to be able to microdose DMT.
Mm-hmm.
And there was discussions about, DMT, you smoke it, ayahuasca. I believe it's the most powerful psychedelic known to man. I believe it is a resurgence of an ancient psychedelic that the Book of Enoch talks about.
Mm-hmm.
But they've been talking about how these technology elite will either smoke DMT or they'll drink ayahuasca. They'll speak to these spiritual entities, and these spiritual entities will tell them about the technology that they are supposed to build.
Yep.
So if you are receiving insight on the technology that is supposed to cover the world from fallen demonic entities, what does that mean about the technology that's being built right now, that the technology we're talking about right now, and how there absolutely will be a blend of what we see as chips and code and just the regular technology world, but the fusion of the spiritual world, because it's coming. It's coming.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and this is so real. Like they even did an episode of Black Mirror on that, because and for those not familiar, it's a sci-fi show. And, as a Christian, I can't really recommend it. There's a lot of profanity and stuff in that, but it's a show that is unique because they take from what is actually possible and they try to just look ahead a few years. Like Star Trek used to do this. And Star Trek had like cell phones and stuff in the show before that was ever even a thought, before that was ever developed. It's kind of the same thing. Well, they did a whole episode on exactly that, where there was basically a developer, a computer developer, and he was taking acid, and somebody had developed some type of AI, and the AI was telling him how to build these new things and how to actually put something in his own brain through self-surgery where he could plug in and the AI could communicate with him in his own brain. And then they developed a way to do that to the entire world through some sort of signal. And it's like, it sounds like science fiction, but this kind of thing is absolutely plausible, because right now AI is limited in what it can and can't do. But once you mix that with a quantum computer, that's top tier peak level. And I think that's at the point where we're really going to start seeing some demonic stuff, because AI already just by itself has the potential to, we're not there yet, but it has the potential someday to be able to say, you could say, I want a machine that can, fly to Mars and back in 3 hours, and it'll figure out all the physics, all the math, and draw up schematics for it. Anything you want. Like I want a fabricator. I want a machine that I can push a button and just tell it what I want it to make, and it'll arrange the particles to make that thing, and it will figure it out. AI is already on that path. It's not there yet, but it's already on that path. You marry that with quantum computing, and it's there instantly. I mean, and that's the thing. Like, quantum computers are so incredibly powerful that it's not even a gradation anymore. It's right when you integrate AI with quantum computing, AI is just about as powerful as it can be. And why wouldn't a fallen angel or a demon or Satan himself use that? And could this be the fulfillment of the image of the beast? And I've wondered about this and written about this before, because in that prophecy, it says that the false prophet basically tells people to make this image of the beast thing, whatever that is. And it says that the image of the beast was given life, given breath of life. Well, that word that's used there in the original language, it's not artificial. It's actual life. Well, what things beyond humans have actual life? Well, angels, demons, there's all sorts of spiritual things that do. So to me, I'm wondering if what we're seeing now is a precursor to what the ultimate end goal would be, and maybe that's going to end up being the image of the beast, which is just crazy to think about.